So I'm making the hop from Peck Lake, which is off there in the distance, but you can still see it, to an anchorage in Hobe Sound. Should only take an hour plus or minus, but it'll make tomorrow's trip the rest of the way down to West Palm Beach shorter and easier. So I just want to say I love this bed. This is the forward-facing sonar that I bought, which was really expensive, and it was a little controversial when I asked people about it on the internet, and I wasn't sure if it was a good purchase or not. Some people told me it doesn't work. As you can see, it certainly seems to be working just fine. But man, does it just, the confidence level, like when I came into the anchorage, I was able to drive around the anchorage very confident that I could see shallow spots with enough time to turn and avoid getting hung up on them, which meant I was able to kind of explore deeper into that anchorage that I would have been comfortable doing without it. Up ahead is what I've kind of been worrying about. This is my first bridge in many years, and bridges just always freak me out. So we'll see. See how it goes. Well, I'm just filming it, but it went pretty well. Not perfect, but anything that doesn't involve an accident is good enough in my book. So a little bit of sanity checking on the engine. First of all, I put that mark on there. Wow, that light is really bright. Okay, so first of all, I put that mark on there at Peck Lake, and as you can see, I haven't lost any coolant, so I am confident that the coolant leak is fixed. There is some wear on the alternator belt. I'm going to get a new belt soon, and then try to adjust it a little bit. I'm still leaking oil, and it's not real bad. And luckily, the way this boat is designed, it stays contained in this space and doesn't pollute, and I can, pump it out of there and dispose of it properly. But it looks like in order to fix it, I'm going to have to remove the transmission and replace the gasket, because it looks like that's what's leaking, and that's pretty frustrating. Do you think I overplan things? I have a list. This is my trip tomorrow. Now, I've crossed this off because I've already gone through this bridge. I'm in Hobe Sound now. So the first bridge I'll hit in the morning is the 707 bridge. I've got all the bridges listed with the phone numbers for the bridge, as well as, well, they're all on channel 9, but I wrote that down because I didn't know if one of them would be different. But I also have the distances between the bridge. And when it's important, and it's interesting because not everywhere, in some places I calculated the speed I have to make in order to get from one bridge to the next right at the right time for them to open. And I got this idea, it's really not that hard to calculate, but I got this idea because between these two bridges, there's a lot of comments on the internet that you have to do 6.5 knots if you want to, once you go from one to get through to the other. And interesting, the bridge opens every half hour, so you don't have to do 6.5 knots. You can either do 6.5 knots or you can do 3.5 knots. If you do 6.5 knots, you'll get there faster. But if your boat can't do 6.5, if you just casually cruise along at 3.5 knots, you'll still get to this bridge right as it's ready to open. And I calculated down here, between this one and this one, I have to do 5.2 knots, and between this one and this one, I have to do 4 knots. And the beauty of this is claimed to be a relatively busy area. Now, it's early in the season and it's a weekday, so it shouldn't be too bad, but it can be kind of unnerving to be stuck waiting for a bridge when there's a lot of traffic moving around you. So by using this, I can get at the bridges with basically just enough time for them to open. We'll see if this actually plays out in practice, but this is my plan.